All right, guys. So we're able to get it live on our city's YouTube page, and we're going to post that link to the Facebook so folks can, still watch it live. It'll just switch platforms on them.
So do we have enough people, Jamie, to have quorum?
It looks like it.
Yeah, we should be good.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:17 p.m. The minutes of the September 1st, 2020 meeting were sent out as part of our packet. If everyone had a chance to review them, are there any changes, comments, or suggestions?
Not here.
No,
All right, hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 1st, 2020 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Andrea and seconded by Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to new business, case 2020 at 1670 Peck Street, windows.
The applicant is seeking approval to replace 8 existing wood windows on the second floor of the house with vinyl windows of the same size. And we do have an applicant here to represent the case.
Okay, and who is that? Who is the applicant?
The applicant
that's-
is myself. I'm Dick Camps,
Okay.
and I represent an organization, a nonprofit organization named Step Up. This particular house is a residence for young men. We currently have 3 young men living there that are ages 18 and 19, along with a live-in house manager. And the purpose of the Step Up is to help young men, and we have another home for young women, but to help them become successfully independent. And we have young people between the ages of 18 and 24. And it originated with a desire to help young people who are aging out of foster care at the age of 18 and had nowhere to go, nor any adult to really help them successfully gain independence. And we've found that there are just as many young people who have not been in the foster care system who find themselves in the same predicament. So we have roughly half the young people are out of the foster care system and the other half are not.
And
This
so
house,
are they working while living here?
they are. One of
Okay.
the requirements is that they work and or go to school and volunteer at least 30 hours a week.
Okay.
And yes.
So the reason I'm asking that is because I don't know exactly what shape these windows are in, but
Yes.
I can say that this is a really fine example of craftsman architecture. Would you agree with that, Stephen?
Yes.
And that replacing those windows with even something of the same size, you're not going to get the depth that is created, the shadow lines by those existing muttons, right?
Yes.
So Having lived in a 120-year-old home for 17 years, I can tell you that actually refurbishing and repainting these windows, it's a wonderful thing to learn about. And I just wonder if there's an opportunity there for working that into your program. Generally speaking, a cheaper, less expensive, lower quality vinyl window is just not a good replacement. Generally speaking, your windows, if you can refurbish them, are going to last as long as these new ones, if not longer. That's my experience, my personal experience. So I don't know what others on the board think about this, but just from a purely architectural perspective, I'm a little bit concerned that they could even come close to matching that, what is it, a 12/1 on those double hungs?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you.
Could I just respond to that?
Yeah.
In that, actually, the muntin can be duplicated. There are a variety of grill patterns available for these windows. So that actually can be duplicated. And that pattern is different on different windows of the house. So they're not all 12/1, some are 8, some are 6.
Okay.
And the windows themselves, the wood is not in good shape in that
Okay.
we've had a couple windows where we've tried to raise them from inside, and the handles have actually come right off because
So you're
the wood's
talking about
not.
dry rot, maybe?
There's some of that in some of the windows, and
Yeah.
the weights are also no longer connected to them, so they don't stay up.
Yeah. Well,
means-
that's the thing
That's a
that's
The easy
really
fix.
pretty easy fix.
easy,
Yeah.
easy fix. I mean, doesn't take any skill really to learn how to do that, right? I mean, everybody here agree with me that's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I've done 20 some of them on my house, which is the same age as this one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think even though you can get windows replicated in vinyl that would match somewhat, when you look at, the difference in materials between when you jump from the wood to the vinyl, no matter how nice the vinyl window is, it's still a vinyl window. And because I think I have to agree with Andrea on this is just an incredible, craftsman style is my favorite type of architecture anyway. So I'm a
Mine
bit
too.
partial to it.
Mine too,
It's
yeah.
just those simple, beautiful lines. I noticed that you brought in, or you have a sample of a vinyl. Did you look at even at a wood replacement? I know that's a pretty hefty cost difference, but because typically in a vinyl window, those grills are on the inside in between the panes. And then you do lose that depth of window. It's just that, that dimension that makes that window stand out. So that's a huge concern. It's just the way that it's going to change the feel of this, this beautiful home. That's my thinking anyway.
I would agree. I think the position of the house is relatively prominent, so it's pretty visible from at least two sides. So I feel like the windows are one of the primary defining architectural features of this house. There are others, but they're already covered up.
Mhm.
And so we would just be adding to that if we were to allow for replacement windows.
Yeah.
I would just add one thing to what I said earlier, and that is that the outside frames would not look any different. Just so you know that the vinyl window would fit right against the stops of the current outer frames of the windows. So in that regard, the trim would not look any different.
But the thing that really makes these windows stand out is the grill pattern. And typically, I mean, even, and there's quite, and this grill pattern is pretty outstanding too. So, you know, even though the rough opening, the window size stays the same, if you were to reduce that down, or if you were to add a vinyl grill instead, it really is going to change the overall look. Like that's just the reality of a vinyl versus a wood. But it sounds like also on the other side of it, it sounds like you have some rot. So probably a restoration, it doesn't sound feasible.
No.
Although they're almost infinitely repairable and for endlessly repairable, whereas vinyl windows cannot be repaired. They need to be replaced, usually about every 20 to 25 years.
Yep.
So what to do with the dry rot though?
A lot of that depends on where that dry rot is at. So
Mhm.
I've got in my building downtown, the big pink house,
Yeah.
I have significant dry rot in some of my windows, and I am slowly just rebuilding those. So you know, the bottom sash, things like that, I'm actually cutting and building those back up little by little. It is, and that's a process, and it's not easy because you have to remove the glass and everything else, and I'm replacing glass too in them. But you know,
Could we, if the option isn't there to be able to coordinate some kind of a, you know, something that you could do with your residents, could we offer something, some resources to Dr. Camps as far as window restoration? I feel like I have some resources. You know, at least it could be an option that you would look at. Someone that could really evaluate each window and put a budget number to it for you, including the fixing of the weights.
Yeah, I can tell you already that the residents are not going to be doing window repair.
Okay.
That is not an option.
Absolutely. The only reason I brought it up is just I wondered what kind of program you had there. But yeah, I mean, there are window restoration contractors around. There actually is a program through the Michigan Historic Preservation Network where you can get certified for it. So I'm sure we could come up with a list for you.
What kind of cost are we talking? Maybe Kimmy can speak to this, or anyone else. I'm just interested in cost per window when you start doing what Kimmy's talking about.
and it really depends what exactly that you're doing to the windows. If it's just minor rot, you know, it's not that big a deal. Glass isn't cheap right, you know, at this point, but no building materials are. Your vinyl windows aren't going to be really cheap right now either, just because building costs building material prices are going up.
Mhm.
But you know, if your glass is good and you can remove your glaze, and you can reglaze those windows, you're going to have a far more energy efficient window in that respect as well. There's really simple things that you can do to tighten up your windows that will make a huge difference. And you know, how soon were you hoping to do this? Is this like an urgent?
Well, one of the considerations is that, you know, these being single pane windows, they are not efficient as far as heat's concerned. So while we do have storm windows to put on them, the storm windows are large, and it takes 2 people on separate ladders to do this. And I'm not eager to get up on a ladder and do this anymore. It's not a very safe thing to do. So if we were to get approval, I would like to start replacing them already this fall if weather permits.
Mhm.
But if we don't get approval, then obviously that won't happen.
Do we have, there was one photograph, I think, of the actual, a little more close up, the windows, the existing windows.
Yeah,
Wasn't there, was that it? I just
There
was
was-
wondering if we could see the condition of the windows at all in the photograph.
Are the storm windows wood?
they are, yes.
So that one, okay, there's a storm on the one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that little one doesn't have one, doesn't look like.
No, it does not.
Do you have storm windows for all the windows or just certain ones?
Most of the windows, there are, I would say probably 3 to 5 windows that we don't have storm windows for, counting both the second floor and first floor.
Mhm.
Were they just dry rot or were they from water damage?
I think I can't tell anything about as far as whether there's any continuing water damage, no indication of that. It's just that the wood on 2 of the windows, when we went to lift them up, the handles, as they said, pulled out. So I would take it as dry rot, yes.
Yeah, it's tough to put a number to as a per window number, because you just
It
don't
is.
know, like, does this window, the size of the window, then does it need a weight replaced or not? And,
Yeah.
oh, we have one whole section of dry rot. So I think that's tough. I think the other part that makes it tough is just the fluctuating building material costs in general. So whereas you would think you'd be able to say, all right, well, industry standard is,
Mhm.
you're going to pay 25% more to restore than if you put a new one in. There's just so many variables, Is it a totally terrible vinyl window you're comparing it to, or is it a high end? It's just, so it's tough, I think, to be able to do that. But what we do know, given both experience and kind of technical historic standards that are out there, is that generally speaking, when you repair a wood window, you are talking about giving it almost a double lifetime of what it has already had.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not the case with the vinyl window. So long-term, does it make sense from an investment perspective? Absolutely. And, I recognize that there's single pane windows, but there's actually quite a bit of data out there about that as well. That so much of where the energy savings is not in the glass itself necessarily, but in all of the pieces and parts around the window. So, all things being equal, and given the fact that we have standards that we have to uphold, I feel like repair is really something that I'm for in this case.
Is there
Yeah,
anyone
our standards
local,
speak to
Andrea,
this
that you could go to?
specifically. Our standards speak to this specifically, and they do not recommend vinyl replacement windows or replacement windows in general in the historic district.
Karen, sorry, I
Yeah.
was drawing a blank. I missed what you were
I
saying.
was just, where would he go locally for something like that? Because not all the windows may need as much repair as certain ones, hopefully.
For sure, yeah.
Because I know it's hard to find anybody to do anything, not just windows,
Yes.
everything.
Okay, so truthfully, what I have found in the historic realm of things, because I'm helping someone through a historic preservation project right now, in Muskegon, absolutely the best thing you can do is throw something out there on the Muskegon Facebook pages. I
Mhm.
can't believe how much great information you can get from people that, we're not talking about advertising, we're talking about, generally speaking,
Yeah.
people and actually, I'm a Facebook member of this Historic Preservation Professionals. I'll throw something out there as well, and I can get your email contact and just ask for anyone local in that regard. So I would say that like there's Muskegon Informed. I don't know if you're active on Facebook at all, or if someone is, but Muskegon Informed is one of them. Trying to think of the other one. That's probably the best one.
Do you always have to replace the glass when you repair these windows?
No.
It's never.
Because
they-
the old
Might be a
glass is
crack.
what I think is cool. I mean,
Well, the issue with glass is always liquid, right? So when you see that cool looking glass that in these old houses, it's kind of rippled. That's not energy efficient glass. So
Mhm.
that's what you want to replace. And it's, if you replace your glass and replace that window glaze, you would be amazed at how much air that keeps in or out of your house. I know that that the myth is that the vinyl windows, replacement windows are just more energy efficient. And the thing is that you break the seal all the way around when you remove a wood window. They're built for that space. And when you put vinyl in there, and vinyl is very flexible and it does a whole lot of strange things against that wood and the heat and the cold. So you do get a lot of drafts and air leaks. So it's not necessarily more energy efficient, and it's almost impossible to put them in a way that makes them so. And I think the real thing here is that these windows just really add so much to this house that losing that, I think, changes its appearance, even if you bought the best vinyl
Someone
window.
like to make the motion. Would someone like to make a motion then?
I don't have it pulled up on mine. Anyone have it right in front of them?
I don't.
I do. Hold on.
I just closed out of it because I was looking at something else.
The motion is I move that the HDC approve or deny the request to replace 8 existing windows on the second floor of the house with vinyl windows of the same size, as long as all work meets all zoning requirements and the necessary permits are obtained.
So you said approve or deny.
I
So
can't make
which
the
one?
motion myself, so I'm just reading it.
Okay. Okay. I move that the HDC deny the request to replace 8 existing wood windows on the second floor of the house with vinyl windows of the same size.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right. Jamie, do you want to do roll call?
Yep, roll call. George,
Yes.
Panazzo,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes.
Riegler,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
and passes.
All right. We will see what we can do to get you those resources.
Right?
We put you in touch
Okay.
with Dick and get those resources shared from you.
Sorry. Here's dying.
Okay. All right,
All
thank you.
right, Jamie, shall we treat the other case as new business then?
Yep, we can treat that as new business. It's a walk-on. I received it a few days ago, but it seemed fairly straightforward, so I wanted to present it to you all. And I believe Ryan has the document up on a different page with the application and then the photos that were submitted along with that application.
All right, Jamie, do you want to explain a little bit about what the project is?
Yep, this is at 1665 Jefferson Street. There's a rear entry door that is in rough condition. I had previously talked to the applicant, I think it was late last year, 2019, And this is the same request. It never actually came before you in 2019, but they're looking to replace that rear entry door. And I think the photos and then the applicant can explain in more detail if they would like.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at the application and the photos that accompany it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone have any questions or discussion?
Mhm. Got a little lead-based paint there.
I
see.
know, the alligator. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess generally our standards don't recommend replacement of doors, but this one is on the back of the house. It's on a porch. It's not really visible from anywhere except by the homeowner. The door is not of particular architectural merit. I guess I personally don't have any issues with the replacement. I feel like, you know, in this particular instance, being where it's located and what it is, that I would be okay with the replacement, but I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts.
Can we see that the door that the replacement door? I think isn't there a photo of the replacement door?
I think I forgot to include that in the document that Ryan has available.
I think it was.
No,
It was somewhere.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
emailed it to you all. So it's in your emails because it came after the agenda was published.
Ah,
up there.
okay.
And then I put this document together with all the photos, but failed to include the photo of the replacement door, which is, I think it was a 6 light, very similar to the one from a couple months ago. We had a meeting that had almost the same door replacement proposed. That was over on Webster. Can't remember the exact number.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry, do you have a storm door that's going to go over this door? Or is this going to be the only door?
Oh, there is a storm door that's currently on there.
Are you going to leave that there?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I really couldn't remember.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of see it a little bit through the window.
Mhm.
There. It's the same door that's on the front door of our house too. The storm door is. It's a matching door.
That's all. That's the only way that
So, I mean, with the HDC,
Where at?
one of the quick questions I would have for you guys is if this door that I currently have is repairable. Obviously, I'm a fan of keeping things the way they are as much as possible. And I know everything is on some level is restorable, but within my means. Are there avenues to look into that further, and what the timeline would
For
something like that be?
Can
Do you
you,
think this is the original door?
So I didn't think so, but a couple of gentlemen were over from the museum, from the Hackley House, and they thought it may possibly be.
can you show the picture of the original door again? Oh,
I didn't think it looked like something that would have been original to this house, but I don't really know.
It's in a very utilitarian
Oh, it
kind of
could have been.
location,
Yeah.
so it could have been.
Uh-huh.
Kind
I
of
mean,
surprises
the
me
wood
sometimes.
color and the wood grain, the wood around the trim and the wood on the door are the same species, and the stain
Oh,
and
fine.
finish color are similar. I'd noticed that when I was looking at it.
Mhm.
That's a
but
good point. Mhm.
These doors are also, doors of this style are really common in the 40s and 50s, so it's hard to say. I mean, someone could have done a really good job matching the color when they were doing it.
Mhm.
I mean, it appears to be southern yellow pine, I would say, or possibly Douglas fir. Without seeing it up close, it's hard to tell. But I had wondered that too, but they're not, I mean, it depends on what's wrong with it. If it's rotted, if there's rot along the bottom edges, that usually means you have to replace it. I've tried on my house with fillers, even epoxy fillers, and they don't really hold up over the long term.
Yeah, and this door, you can't really see it, but they've tried before on this door as well.
Mhm.
Does it lock?
Yeah, it does lock.
Okay. Well, you got one step up on me. My back door don't lock, so don't tell anybody.
Well, we're on a meeting on Facebook, so now
Oh,
everyone knows.
Now everyone knows.
I'll probably have visitors. 'Cause I need a new back door too. If we approve it, could you just buy two?
Yeah, they're very cheap.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And the replacement one that we did pick out was an all wood door. It's a quality door for sure.
Mhm. Well, I think because of the location, I also don't think it's an issue to replace this particular door. And I also think because it's you've got, your joints are pretty separated up at the top there.
Yeah.
That would be a real challenge to try to hold this together. I mean, you'd probably literally have to cut the door down some and put a solid top, a piece across the top, that then you're altering the door a little bit, and it's still never gonna,
I mean,
not gonna operate
ideally-
well.
ideally, if it were like the front door and you were really concerned about it and you wanted to restore it, the best way to get it to be tight and is to take it completely apart and then clean out all the joints and then re-glue and clamp it so that everything's tight and the panels are floating, all the paint stripped off, and then repaint it. That can be done. It's if you like that sort of a challenge, I did it with one of my storm doors. But like I said, I used filler on the bottom because there was some rot and it's going to have to be taken apart and done again because the filler's coming out.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, because of the location, unless you're super concerned about it, is there any evidence of different hinge holes, different latch holes, latches moving around, anything like that that would indicate that maybe it was replaced?
So latch holes, yes. Like that, I think well, you can kind of see that picture there. You can see the jambs have been messed with several times over, but I'm not exactly sure if it was from an exterior or, the storm door or the interior side of it. I'm not real sure, but yes, the jam has been changed. There's plenty of holes in the jam.
Mhm.
See, at my house, the door that goes out to my backyard is the original door to the house, and everything lines up, all the hinges line up. The door off of my back porch is along the lines of this one. It's a 50s replacement. It doesn't fit well. You can see where the hinges were changed. You can see where the latch was changed, that sort of thing. And so it's always been my intention, I haven't done it yet, to replace that door with a more appropriate one. I'm trying to find one that matches the back one, an old one that matches the back one, but I haven't had any luck. But the old one I took apart and stripped and refinished and redid just because it was original to the house. So I guess it just depends on, no one ever will see that because it's behind the garage and it's in the backyard and no one ever sees it. But I was stripping the interior woodwork and I wanted it all to match. So that's why I took the time to redo it.
Sure.
But we've been talking about the fact that it's on the back of the house. It's a service door, so I guess, like I said initially, I don't have a huge issue with the replacement.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't either.
I think it's fine to replace it.
I was just
long as-
speaking to your
Probably-
question about can it be restored, and the answer is
Sure.
yes, but it just depends on how much work you want to put into it.
Sure.
But-
And I'm sure you guys have seen my house before. I've got plenty of other projects. But
Okay, well, is there any more discussion then? It seems like we've covered it pretty thoroughly. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the HDC approve to replace the wood door on the back side of the house with the wood door that was presented to the board. As long as it is the same opening and there's no changes to the size and all work meets all zoning requirements and necessary permits are obtained.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
Okay,
Oh, was there a second?
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just waiting for
Linda,
that.
Linda
Okay.
seconded, yeah.
Okay, we can do roll call then. George,
Yes.
Panazzo,
Yes,
Radke,
Yes.
Riegler,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Good luck. It's a beautiful home.
Thanks, I
Sure.
appreciate it. Couple long weekends.
Yeah.
All right. That concludes our new business then. There is no old business on the agenda. Does anyone else have anything they feel should be discussed under old business?
Mm-mm.
All right.
I did speak with Tim Painter, and he is resigning from the board. He has some health issues that are making it especially difficult to attend these meetings and participate. And he just informed me that he hopes to one day be able to reapply to be on the board. And I just wish him the best. And we'll see if down the road sometime he is able to reapply.
Yeah.
But we'll work on filling that position. And I think I can still possibly, Ryan would know better, if I can get it on the agenda for the upcoming city commission work session. I think it has to go to first, but I'll work on that. If it's not by next month, it'll be by the month after. We'll have a new board member.
Do you need volunteers or do you have a list of people kind of?
We're always taking volunteers. You fill out a talent bank application and you can basically state your interest in any of the city's boards. So if you know anybody that's interested and is a city resident, I believe that's the only spot we have to fill is a city resident.
Okay.
We're taking applications if they're interested. Obviously, they want to get it in sooner. I could put it off another month if we're okay with having 6, which we've been doing fine with for the past few months.
There is someone who I knew that wanted to be on it a while back. And so I can reach out to him and see if he has applied and if he is interested.
Okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have exemptions for that city requirement if they have some particular skill set that is useful to the commission. Like David Mayville, who was on the board before, lived in Norton Shores, but he was on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true, Jamie, or do you not know off the top of your head?
Yeah, it would have to be, I'm trying to think, was he an architect?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that position, Andrea fills that position right now. And I think usually we only look for anybody that's not a resident of the city. If we really need to fill a position, we're always going to have an architect on the board. So if Andrea wasn't here, we had no architect on the board, then I think we could open it up beyond city limits. I can double check, but I have a feeling that you'd have to have an opening in that particular spot.
Well, this person
I
is
wasn't sure
a
if it
city
was just
resident.
architect or if it, someone had some other skill set that was useful to a builder or a contractor. Or
I don't believe it's just for an architect, but I would have to check the list again to see what the valid positions would be. I know that
Stephen, only architects have
Useful skills.
useful skills.
Let's just get that straight.
Put that in a minute.
It's out there on Facebook too.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jamie. We look forward to seeing possible new members. So it's nice to get other people involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone that, knows someone that might be interested in that to.
Or maybe there's someone out there in Facebook that would like to apply to the city.
Yes.
Right?
To all of how many people are watching us? 1? And
That's right. That's right.
Well, we can go to public comment and find out. Maybe someone wants to call in.
Okay. All right. On the spot.
Moment of truth right here.
Caller, you're live on the air. No.
Well, you do learn as we go. I've learned a lot being on this board about a lot of things that I never knew before. So,
Like who keeps their door unlocked and stuff like that.
yeah. And I do need a back door. I do. You keep putting it off, but
Not after today.
yeah. Well, I have an alarm system, so I'll hear them if they come in.
Are you just saying that because everybody on Facebook?
No,
Don't
I
you
do
yours
have
on
an
it?
alarm system.
It was interesting what you had to say, Andrea, about that Muskegon Informed.
Yes, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, I mean, kind of really obscure resources. I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of people kind of post stuff on there like, hey, I've got this, 1920s, blah, 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 something. And I mean, even not just for resources for craftsmen, but for materials. And I mean, it really, Facebook isn't the evil place that so many of us see it as right now. But I mean, no, I've seen some real great resources come out of that. Painters and,
I was thinking, that reminds me, when you were mentioning that, I was wondering, I don't know, Jamie, if there's any city money available, but if SHPO does offer a certification program, if maybe it would be a good exercise of this commission to reach out to local contractors and see if any of them were interested in
yeah,
becoming certified in something like that, so that we could build a resource list that we could then provide to people when things like this come up. Okay, well, here's 5 contractors in the area that are certified in window restoration.
Right.
so
Well, 'cause
they
I know-
they did a workshop when
Yeah.
Andrew Hahn was here.
Yep, Mishta did that.
What's that?
I think Mishta funded that.
They did, yeah. The train depot that is now the
Bed and
Peak
breakfast.
Hotel. They used that as their location and they restored all those windows. And I remember going in there right after it was done, and it was just like glorious to touch that, and the weights were just like, oh my gosh, it was like it's brand new. It was just, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and there were several people that took advantage of that, and I know that they did a plaster repair
Yeah.
program in partnership with Hackley House and
Yeah.
Shore Museum. I know
Mhm.
Matt was real involved in that, and
Mhm.
those are really valuable skills that they're not hard to do if you know.
Right.
And so, yeah, it would be pretty cool to put a resource list together and find out some folks that
Mhm.
doing some trainings and, I mean,
And maybe it's something we should look at offering every 2 years, maybe on some sort of staggered
Yeah.
schedule, because they also offer ones in there's one like a basic primer about owning an old house and
Mhm.
plumbing and electrical and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And there's one on masonry repair and the window
Mhm.
one, and like you said, and the plastering one, and
Yeah.
it might be a good thing that we could do, but it might be really cool if we could find, maybe we just prepare a list of contractors in the area and send them some sort of form letter saying, this is available, this is what it costs, would you be interested in doing this? And then we'd be able to promote you as a resource, which I don't know if we're allowed to do. I mean, I guess we get into some city areas that we'd have to talk about, but I just think that'd be a really cool thing if, and then if there's other programs like that for other historically based trades that we could, have recommendation lists when people want to do things like this. Maybe there's a list of contractors that just generally like old houses or like working on old houses that we could recommend too.
Even when you were at your previous job, in that city, did they have anybody that does things like that? Because I always feel bad when we have to deny, but we really don't have, resources to help them either, because it isn't a quick, easy job, that's for sure. But did they have anybody in their location?
Unfortunately, I was in Grand Haven and they don't have an HDC, and no one,
Oh,
so no one has to, the only thing this ever gets presented to is planning. And planning
Oh.
doesn't really have a historically minded mindset. So everyone always got to replace everything with whatever they wanted.
oh, I didn't realize that.
I was in charge of the preservation and place committee. So sometimes I could sway people to go in a more historical direction if it happened to be within the bounds of the downtown development authority. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot anybody could really do. And they were very, very, very resistant to the idea of having an HDC because I tried it and it went over like a lead
Oh,
balloon,
no, because they want to be able to do what they want.
right? Even
Yeah.
arguments
We
about
had sort of
how,
a- We had
But
sort of a database that was like that, and it was incredibly outdated, and it wasn't very local. It was sort of
mhm.
almost seemed like mail order type of situations where, you know, you get a magazine, you get some contact info, and I mean, it was stuff from the East Coast and things like that. And I just know because I went through a lot of the HDC files. So not totally useful and probably 20 years out of date, but I would be all for building up something more local in terms of contractors that might be certified in various skill sets, and being able to share that with people, especially those that may be asking for work to be approved that isn't easily approvable by this board.
Mhm.
would there be any money for, or like a grant application process or like a scholarship grant from the city to pay for the certification process for people like this if they were interested?
I could look into something like that, but I almost think if we become certified through the CLG program, that might be a good step to take too. We can apply for grants every year through that. And depending on the goals of this board each year, we can apply for funding to host trainings and things like that. And I think it also opens the door for the city to have some of those trainings hosted as part of that program. I don't know the exact details on how that's all structured, but there's some opportunities in terms of training that aren't open to us now that would be once we're certified.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. I mean, even if we could apply for grants that would give us money that we would then be allowed to distribute to people that were interested in something like this. If we created a program, that could be a real game changer, because right now they're like, okay, well, you said no, what do I do now? We're like, I don't know, you know, so if we could really be proactive in creating a resource for somebody to be able to do something like that.
Mhm.
Especially when
Yeah.
they're doing something like that step up, that's a community-based, you know, it's a good thing for the community too. It's too bad.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they really, those windows were not in terrible shape. I don't think he'll have if he could, even a basic woodworker could replicate some of the lower lower rails and some of those other parts. But it's just a matter of finding somebody that's willing to take on a small job like that.
Yeah.
'Cause they're really, on those old windows, the parts are not really, nothing is very complex, at least in my experience. And my house is of a similar age, and even possibly by the same builder. Although I believe at that time, at least all of mine appear to be factory made as opposed to site built, but
Do you have any applicants to join the commission, Ryan? Nobody called in.
No callers, no.
okay. Well, it's 5:04. Does anyone have any other business? If we kind of jumped over other business, but does anyone have anything else they'd like to bring before the commission before we adjourn?
I don't.
All right, then I would make a motion for us to adjourn at 5:04. Does anyone want to second that?
Second.
Second.
All right. So I guess we're adjourned, and we will see you next week, or next month, rather.
Well, take care, everyone. Good to see
All
you.
right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good month.